Hey guys, this is my weekly report for August 17th. I'm down here in the Delta, flipping around in the grass, and we're bass fishing basically. Oh, wait a minute, I think I got a bite. Oh yeah, got one. Deep in the grass, punching this grass. Fish are in about 2 feet of water. Oh, look at that, got a bass full grass. So anyway, I'll give you an idea what I've been doing this week. I've been down here in the Delta bass fishing. We've been doing pretty good. I've been catching a lot of fish on flipping brush hogs and also on chatterbaits. And you know, this is like a nice two pounder. But other than that, I mean, Monday I was up at UV again, and it was a thunderstorm going through there. If I had known there was going to be a thunderstorm, I wouldn't have gone, because in my past experience, I've found that when I was salmon fishing or kokanee fishing, when it was, I had a storm front coming through, it gets rather a little bit tough. So the other day when I got there, it was kind of drizzling, but in the morning we had a good bite. We got there at 7, and by 9 o'clock we hooked 12, but we only landed 8 of them. And I'd say 4 of them were really good sized males, and they're already hooked. The noses were hooked, and there's no scales on them. So they're in that transition where they're going to get ready to head up the river to spawn. But the bite's still decent. I think if I had a clear day, I would have probably caught them pretty easy, because once it started raining, they just disappeared. I didn't see any on the meter. It got really tough. Other things going on, I know you guys are waiting for that weather to calm down so you can get out in the ocean after those bluefin. There's probably about 5 or 6 boats that went out in the past few days, and nothing. Those fish that were here, they've just disappeared. They left. Whether they'll come back, they might have went up the coast a little, they might have went down, who knows? You know, they might. We really haven't figured out, you know, their pattern yet. But there was a bunch of them out there a month ago, and the weather got really rough and nobody could get out. Now that it calmed down, guys are going out, and zippo, nothing. But the other alternative is to go albacore fishing, because they're starting to show up. If you can get that water temperature, you know, in that 62, 64 in pretty close, you could go out and catch those. Adrian and Nate, those guys went out a few days ago, and they went after bluefin, trolled for a while, and then nothing. So they went after albacore, and they ended up catching 3 nice ones. He said he had 5 on at one time, and then they only landed 3, and Nate lost one in the prop, and then they trolled for hours and never got another hit. So those fish just moved out on them. So other things going on, if you could get out, I know James on the Caldon 2 went out to past the Farallons rock fishing the other day, loaded the boat. The island out there in 350 feet has just been awesome. So if you want to climb on a party boat or take your own boat out there, the rockfish and lingcod are really plentiful out there because it hasn't been fished for so long. So that's a good place to go if you want to catch some, you know, good sized rockfish. It's opened up all over on the coast. No matter what depth that you're in, you can fish for rockfish right now. So you could fish in any depth, but you know, if you want to get big ones, I would head out in that 300 to 350 feet. Other things happening, if you could, you know, when the weather permits, like right now, I would probably go try the North Bar for halibut. I'm sure they're catching a lot of them there. You know, before this weather got really nasty, there were boats going out there, and they were averaging, you know, 14, 15 pound halibut on drifting live bait. They're still getting them in the bay. John, Montana, a buddy of mine, was out there yesterday, a couple days ago, and they limited out inside the bay. They look like pretty decent fish. You know, they look like they were in that, you know, that 8 pound to 10 pound range. So they got their limit inside. So you could go inside, outside, and still catch them. Another thing going on inside the bay that's been really hot is a leopard shark. A lot of guys been catching a lot of leopards. So the leopards are on the feed. It's pretty simple to go out there and soak bait. You could use midshipman or squid, and they basically about hit anything. So leopard shark is pretty decent. Other than that, we'll come in. The striper fishing's been slowing down a little bit, especially out in the bay. A lot of those fish moved out, went out around the corner outside the Golden Gate or out on the coast by Pacifica. I know a lot of guys are throwing iron, jerk baits, topwater, and they're catching some pretty decent fish. But the bigger ones are coming at night. So those guys are going out there at night throwing a 2 or 3 ounce spoon, throwing it out as far as you can in surf and just rip it back. And they've been catching some big ones. So that's another thing that you could do. Other than that, inside the bay, the striper fishing has been kind of spotty because those fish had already gone. They're starting to move in the delta system, so they're coming inside the delta. I've had some good days down there. A couple of days ago, we went out and we caught a few, and Warren got one about 7-8 pounds. But they're starting to move into our system. Sturgeon, I still hear they're catching sturgeon. Around the Martinez area, they're still soaking bait and catching sturgeon. So that's another thing that you can do. There's a lot of things going on right now, in that bay and out in the ocean. So we come in a little further. Sacramento River is kind of slow. I mean, there's guys picking up schoolie-sized stripers in the river, also in the American River. And the feather, there's guys trolling up there at night catching really good sized stripers, and they're trolling like bombers or Yozeri plugs up there. The West Bank's been really good. It's been kind of like a hit and miss, but Mark Wilson's been actually catching a lot of them in the last couple of weeks, so that's another option. So these fish are starting to move their way back into the delta. Where I'm fishing up around Liberty Island you'll run into schools, and when you get on the school, you'll catch quite a few. And you can catch them on fish traps, rattle traps, chatterbaits. They'll hit anything. When they're in their flats feeding, you can pretty much catch them on anything. Kokanee. Let's go back to kokanee because, like I said, Union Valley was a little bit tough for me the other day. We only caught 8, but the action was really good until it started raining. Buller's Bar has been red hot still. I mean, there's guys going up there and there's no problem getting 10 fish limit. I'm sure you could go to Pardee and get them, and Stampede's still red hot. So there's quite a few options that you could do for kokanee fishing. So but I was really surprised that Union Valley they're actually starting to turn, because we caught like 4 males yesterday that were about 15-16 inch. Their noses were hooked and they didn't have any scales, so that's telltale that those fish are starting to get into that mode. Trout fishing, Pardee, I'm sure you can get them at Collins, Comanche. If you go on to Big Nate's website, he's been catching the heck out of trout, and he's been going up to Comanche fishing for him. I know him and Kevin went to Berryessa today. They're going to go try trolling for the landlocked kings. So those are other things that are going on. Other than that, the shad fishing is probably over. Anything else, I haven't heard too much about crappie or anything. The bass fishing in the lakes are really good. Folsom slowed down a little bit. I think Orville is red hot. I think Shasta would be really good. The Delta's on fire. I've been coming down here every week, a couple of days, and pretty much 15 to 20 pound limits are a rule. Pretty good fishing down here in the Delta right now. Other than that, if you guys are headed out on Saturday morning, tune in the radio on 1140 on the AM dial. I'm on California Sportsman's every Saturday at 6:35. Every first Saturday of the month I'm in the studio, so I go in there with Kent and Seps and talk to everybody about fishing and what's going on. So if you like, hit that like button for me. Please subscribe because it'll help my channel a lot. If you want to leave me a comment, leave me a comment. You can ask me a question. I got like 200 videos. You can look at any of them you want. You could ask me any kind of question you want regarding any of them. So, hope you guys have a good week fishing, and I'll see you guys next week.